I was diagnosed with anxiety, and I was also diagnosed with depression.
I was sitting there in front of my canvases, unable to move, and I was panicking.
When I wake up in the morning, I have ADHD, it's there. It doesn't go away when it's good or bad.
This trauma is in the DNA of Black people, so we just cannot afford to not seek therapy moving forward. Most common diagnoses that, in my personal experiences, that I see with Black people are often rooted in some type of trauma.
We are still dealing with a lot of the blowback from slavery, and a lot of what we experience are direct consequences of that.
There's a history of the Black community getting either the bare minimum or nothing, right? And then when we would get help, it would come with stipulations.
The skepticism is, you're going to tell me that there's something wrong with me just because of my skin. You're not going to tell me there's something wrong with me because you're being a fair person.
When we don't feel motivated, it's laziness. When we are going through an episode, it's violence. It is a lot. And I'm like getting emotional.
And this is all product of environment based on us not getting the help that we need.
Any mental health disability, it's a struggle, it's a fight. When you fall or you stumble, it's hard to come back.
The people that suffer from mental health issues, you know, they're stigmatized and they suffer in silence a lot.
You wouldn't ignore your arm without ignoring another part of your body, so we don't want to ignore mental health. We want to embrace it. We want to be able to talk about it and just keep in mind how important it is.
Mental health in the Black community has always been looked down on because they always felt like, well, a white person wants you to believe there's something wrong with you, and if there's something wrong with you, then there's something wrong with our family.
The older generations in particular feel like if you have anxiety or you have depression, especially if you have something like bipolar or something like that, they consider you crazy.
Whatever happens in the house stays in the house, but also you deal with it. You don't talk about it to anybody even in the home.
Those are trauma responses, those are survival responses, those are not healthy, and those are often ways that we have learned to cope through generations. When your mental health is declining, it can feel like your thoughts are taking over you, that your thoughts own you.
I was going through a period of time when I was doing very well. And then as the weather changed and the sky became darker, all of a sudden I started losing energy. And before I knew it, you know, I was sitting there in front of my canvases, unable to move. Those days turned into weeks. Those weeks turned into months. And I was getting nothing done. And I was panicking.
In the high parts of your life, it looks so successful. But there are low points in your life. Now you're, oh, she's, you know, a distracted maniac. That to me is like where it gets a little painful, because then you start hiding things about yourself and you don't want people to think that you have any imperfections.
Probably about 10 years ago, I was diagnosed with anxiety, and I was also diagnosed with depression. It's something that I've struggled with for years, and it wasn't until I actually sought help that I realized it was something that I really needed.
But it doesn't mean that this is who we are. It's just something that we are learning to live with, something we are learning to navigate through, something we are learning to reorganize our lives around. I know that more Black people are seeking therapy. At our practice, we're probably about well over 95 or 96% of the people that we see are Black.
I see a therapist every week, right? Full transparency. I am not shy to tell anyone that.
Once I took that first step, I just felt comfortable. I was able to talk with her about things that I had went through from my past to my present.
I have been very lucky to have met some really, really good therapists who waited patiently for me to get to the point where I was willing to talk about how my Blackness affects my life on a daily basis.
The understanding and the ability to say, hey, there is help, I need help, I'ma seek help, and then get help and utilize help as a tool.
And therapy is a process. There's no timetable on when you will get through the process, and the outcome belongs to the client.
I'm a firm believer of medication works, along with therapy. If it wasn't for the medications and the trusting in my doctor, I wouldn't be sitting here today.
There are not enough Black therapists, especially in a region like Pittsburgh. We're looking at maybe 5%, and most of the Black therapists that I know and trust have long waiting lists, and that puts us at a disadvantage.
I went through some very sensitive issues when I was a minor, so I did not want a male therapist. I wanted a female therapist. Again, she could have been of any color, any background. I just wanted someone that I could feel comfortable with, and it had to be a female.
I believe white therapists should have a great understanding of the Black culture and the mental health needs and gaps, and analysts, you know, they need to have a good understanding on who they're treating, and even down to the zip code they're treating in.
We just still have a lot further along to go. I think the biggest problem continues to be, access to insurance. So now we have a mental health issue and you do not have the resources to seek a therapist.
Whether it's medical care, whether it's transportation, all those barriers that can prevent us from actually getting the help that we need.
People with mental health, they're heavy. Their heart is heavy, their back is heavy, their body's aching. So you gotta make sure that when a person who knows there's something wrong and they want to get help, that it is easy accessible, like they're not going to have to jump a fence.
There are things that are still in our communities, marginalized communities, I say Black communities, and there are resources in white communities that stay in white communities, but how do we break those barriers and combine them?
I feel like my job, my mission as a Black male artist is to put as many of our emotions out there.
Mental health is for everyone from all walks of life.
You're never too old to go and be treated. I'm going to spend the rest of my life advocating for ADHD and adult and mental health treatment.
If you exercise the right things mentally, you then will reap the benefits of having a healthier life.
It's nothing to be embarrassed about. It's something that we can all embrace. And it doesn't have to be an obstacle if we keep the discussions going.